Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to dive into the core reasons why employees are so skeptical of AI in the workplace and exactly how organizations can bridge this growing trust gap. We hear constantly about the incredible productivity gains artificial intelligence promises, but on the ground, in the actual day-to-day workflows, there is a serious friction happening right now between human workers and their new algorithmic colleagues. Today, we're going to uncover exactly why that is. Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 1. The AI trust gap, 2. The verisimilitude paradox, 3. The jagged technological frontier, 4. Bias in the black box, 5. Product versus process trust, and finally, number 6, keeping humans in the loop. Let's get into it. Section 1. The AI trust gap, and that major disconnect between leaders and employees. To really understand this, we first need to establish just how wide the divide actually is between the boardroom and the broader workforce when it comes to AI. Now, you might be wondering, why do employees really distrust AI? People often assume workers are just afraid of learning new tech, or maybe they're acting like modern-day Luddites, right? Just trying to protect the status quo. But the reality is actually deeply rooted in how their employers are deploying these tools. The distrust isn't necessarily about the AI itself, but rather the entire context in which it's being handed to them. And we see this massive, stark contrast in the data. A Workday global study found that 62% of leaders are welcoming AI adoption with open arms. They are eager for those efficiency gains. But on the flip side, 38% of employees are hesitant or neutral, and a staggering 42% actually say there isn't enough clarity around what should even be automated in the first place. So you literally have leaders pushing the gas pedal to the floor while employees can't even see the roadmap. Which brings us to Section 2, the verisimilitude paradox and the very real danger of plausible outputs. For our first diagnosis of why this gap exists, we have to look at the psychological friction employees experience with large language models. The crucial point here is what experts call the AI trust paradox, or the verisimilitude paradox. See, unlike older automation that would just fail completely if it didn't know an answer, modern generative AI mimics human language perfectly. Its outputs look so incredibly convincing and well-structured, it creates this deceptive appearance of truth. It sounds right, so our brains naturally want to believe it's right. And that leads to deeply misplaced trust. And this dynamic perfectly illustrates why humans collaborate so poorly with AI in decision-making right now. We suffer from a severe calibration problem. On one end, we have over-reliance. An employee might trust a 60% accurate AI way too much, simply because the output looks super professional, so they just blindly accept errors. But then on the flip side, we have under-reliance. The second an employee gets burned by an AI hallucination, they completely lose faith. They end up rejecting a 95% accurate AI system out of general distrust. They either lean in way too far or they back away entirely. There's no middle ground. All right, Section 3, the jagged technological frontier and the issue of uneven capabilities. This builds directly into why AI feels so unpredictable for the average worker. It's a fascinating concept identified in a Boston Consulting Group experiment called the jagged technological frontier. Think of it kind of like a genius colleague who can write a brilliant corporate strategy, but then somehow can't figure out how to use the office printer. For an AI, its capabilities are wildly uneven across tasks that might seem similar in difficulty to us humans. In that BCG study, knowledge workers using GPT-4 really struggled to exercise judgment because the AI could flawlessly complete one highly complex analytical task, but then fail completely at a basic logic task right after. So what does this mean for the everyday employee? Well, it means productivity doesn't just depend on the AI's raw capability. If you're working safely inside the AI's capability boundary, your performance skyrockets. But the moment you step just a millimeter beyond that jagged edge, performance absolutely plummets. Because of that verisimilitude we talked about, the AI still gives you a highly plausible, confident answer, even when it is totally wrong. Without proper verification systems, employees are just constantly falling off that jagged edge. Moving to Section 4, bias in the black box. Let's tackle the ethical concerns and algorithms. Our next diagnosis explores the very real ethical concerns employees harbor, especially when AI is making decisions about their livelihoods or career advancement. As this quote from a UC Berkeley law professor highlights, it cuts right to the heart of the issue. Employees distrust AI because they know this seemingly objective black box is trained on historical data. And if that data contains deeply ingrained human biases, which, let's be honest, it almost always does, the AI will simply amplify and scale those biases, all under the guise of mathematical objectivity. And employees have absolutely seen the headlines. These aren't just theoretical what-if fears. We've seen generative AI create fake legal citations that lawyers actually submitted to court. We've seen facial recognition systems drastically drop in accuracy for marginalized groups. We've even seen major tech companies scrap experimental AI hiring algorithms because the system literally taught itself to penalize resumes that included the word women's. When employees see these decisions occurring without any transparent algorithmic reviews, it entirely validates their fear that unchecked AI could exacerbate socioeconomic divides right in their own workplace.
Let's pivot to Section 5, Product versus Process Trust, because honestly, it's not just about the tech itself.
Looking at the structural way AI is introduced reveals that the actual software might not be the biggest hurdle. Notice the critical distinction here between two different types of trust. Enterprise AI products are usually deployed top-down by the organization. They aren't chosen by the individual user. So an employee might actually have high product trust. They know the tool can crunch data accurately or write a good email, but they have incredibly low process trust. They resent the top-down mandate, they don't understand the privacy implications for their own data, and frankly, they just don't trust the company's ultimate motives for deploying it. And this is a vital distinction. If an AI gives bad answers, sure, that's a design problem. But if employees don't trust the rollout, that is a change management problem. And an organization absolutely cannot solve a change management problem simply by buying a slightly more accurate piece of software. If you don't fix the process trust, the product trust is completely irrelevant. Which brings us to our final section, number 6, keeping humans in the loop, and how we actually bridge this trust gap. So now that we've diagnosed the technological friction of the jagged frontier, the ethical fears of the black box, and the structural barriers of process trust, how do organizations actually fix this? Rebuilding this relationship requires a fundamental shift. It means moving away from demanding blind trust from your employees and instead doing the hard work to earn calibrated trustworthiness. The absolute most critical structural change an organization can make is implementing a human-in-the-loop system. AI shouldn't just be set up to operate autonomously in a vacuum. By actively keeping humans in the loop, companies provide a vital safety net. That human is there to catch the errors when the AI falls off that jagged frontier, to contextualize cultural ambiguity the AI totally misses, and to bring ethical reasoning back to the table when an algorithm spits out a biased recommendation.
To actually operationalize this, the Edelman Trust Barometer lays out 4 brilliant, clear steps. 1. Transparency first. Explain exactly how the AI works, what data it's using, and who benefits. 2. Proactive governance. Establish strict internal rules before outside regulations force you to. 3. Demonstrated impact. You have to prove the AI's real-world value to the employee's daily life, not just the company's bottom line. And 4. Engaging the public, which internally means including diverse employee voices early on in the rollout process, rather than just handing down a blind mandate.
The NIST framework heavily backs this up too. They emphasize that we simply cannot treat AI like traditional software. It is not a set it and forget it situation. It requires continuously mapping and measuring risks. Organizations have to establish explicit go or no-go deployment decisions based on regular testing. They need diverse teams to spot biases that a homogeneous group would completely miss. And crucially, leadership has to openly acknowledge to their employees the real trade-offs being made, like balancing system accuracy against user privacy. I want to leave you with this final thought as you reflect on everything we've covered in today's explainer. The future of AI in the workplace isn't about replacing human judgment. It is absolutely about empowering it. If we understand the paradoxes, respect the boundaries of the tech, and prioritize human-in-the-loop oversight, we really can bridge this divide. So the question you have to ask yourself is this. As AI reshapes our work, how will your organization move past the hype and actually earn the calibrated trust required to make this partnership successful?